Verdicchio. I'm presently at the Desert Dairy artist residency. I've been here almost 10 days now. It's taken me a while to get into the flow, even though I've been going out every day and attempting to sort of collect things in the landscape and coming back and writing about them. I'm mostly doing photography and writing. I've been writing for a while. I would call myself a writer, not necessarily a photographer, although I did that for quite a while, starting in the 80s and quit, and I've come back to it recently. So I'm sort of rediscovering that as a medium. And here it's given me the opportunity to explore all of those things in this beautiful, unusual, and sometimes also not completely comfortable landscape. That is the desert. So I've been going around and mostly exploring a lot of the abandoned homes that are in this area. I've had a long-standing relationship with the desert, I guess. It's was my discovery after moving to California, San Diego. It was a discovery that made it a little bit more bearable to be in a place like San Diego, which I found sort of barren, which in contrast to the desert is sort of an odd statement. But finding the desert, Anza Borrego especially, and other parts of the southwestern landscape, including some of the culture associated with the First Nations of the area, allowed me to get a little bit more comfortable with the place that is Southern California. This project, I've been collecting images that I'm also trying to blend as part of the experience of being out and walking in the desert. What does it mean? Photography as a statement of presence, not necessarily for my presence, but a blended presence of the things that you discover out here, and actually taking an image of these things to carry back somewhere. And what do you do with those images? So the words and the images are through those I'm trying to explore that aspect of being in a place like this. I'm trying to figure out why people feel the need to come out to the desert and possess a piece of the desert, build something on it, and then abandon it. And, there's a whole discourse of the pioneers who came out here. And on the one side, I went to the exhibit that's downtown here. And on one side, it's attempting to say that the First Nations people made this place what it is. On the other hand, I read a part of the exhibit that they had abandoned the place, and so it was up to the pioneers who came and settled this place to build it into what it has become today. So all these contradictions about people having abandoned it, but possibly having had a culture where they moved from place to place, and then someone else coming along and making something out of it, which is a typical colonial discourse. And I think that continues to be part of it, of those who were able to get it. And I'm among those thinking about, hey, I'm going to get a piece of land out here and do something out here. I think it's just part of our nature to have to possess something without thinking of the displacement of whether it's other people, other cultures, or the vegetation or the wildlife. What is it that drives people to do that? I'm hoping that through the photography, through walking through these places, I'm attempting to discover that sort of impetus that seems to be in us to have something and have to define it by building something on it. And so the photographs is an attempt to figure out what this presence is, the presence of the places that I am going to see, and my own presence in the place. What is it that attracts me to stop in certain areas and not others, because I've driven by a lot of them and not stopped while something has attracted me to others. I mean, that's the whole process of photography is related to that. Why I choose to take a photograph of one thing and not another, and that's also the process of discovery of oneself, of trying to figure out exactly what the attraction is to certain things. The beauty of something like a residency is that it cuts out all the other, uh, not preoccupations, because you're always tied to whatever is back home, but it cuts out a lot of the background noise that keeps you from concentrating fully on the work, um, and maintaining uh, being in touch with it on a for an extended period. Being afforded the time, the continuous time to work uh, with your materials is definitely a plus. It's frustrating in a lot of ways. Took me a few days, even though I was going out and doing things related to what I thought I wanted to do. The writing really started to flow maybe 3, 4 days into it, 5 days into it, halfway almost. Um, all the time, having all this time enabled the elements to fall into place at a certain point. So the important thing is not to go into, I guess, to a residency with any expectations, but allowing that process to take place.